I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father, unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
I'm
not. James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway.
We have got to talk about how Karine Jean-Pierre is so terrible at her job. An affirmative action hire who can never be fired until she decides she wants to walk away is absolutely the worst person you could have here. And you could name off a bunch of bad press secretaries if you want to. Remember how much fun they had with Sean Spicer and Kayleigh McEnany and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You don't see that with Karine Jean-Pierre. I wonder why. It must be because she's doing such a good job, right? She's putting out all those fires so well, right? No, it's because she's a black lesbian. That's the real reason they don't criticize her. And I think we all know that. It is all pretty clear to anyone that's paying any attention. What isn't clear to anyone that's paying attention is why she still has this job when she is so terrible at it. Some reporters this week finally said, hey, Hunter Biden, there's some pretty bad stuff here. What is the president going to do about this? And the answer is apparently nothing. And they surely aren't going to answer any questions.
The president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and decision-making of why the president decided to invite
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into it.
Let me ask you this. If Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors 2 days earlier?
A couple of things. Again, that's his son. He's a family member. It is not uncommon for family members to attend events at the White House. You could look at past presidents. I'm sure you have. So that is not uncommon.
The question was about the guy who just pled guilty to federal tax evasion charges and got a sweetheart deal in the process. Should be hobnobbing with the President of the United States and Merrick Garland. And she just wants to say, well, they're family. We know. That's the problem.
As it relates to anything related to Hunter, I'm just not going to respond to it from here.
Now, I want you to look at that and listen to this. She has no interest in responding to this, but to the credit of the American media, the White House press corps here, they actually press her. Wow.
Can I follow up on that?
No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask, whether the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared, and so I would refer you to him. And
You notice what you're not hearing here? That message is fake. That message is not real. That message has no basis in reality. That message is part of a right-wing conspiracy. You're not hearing any of that because the message is real and they know it. And the best thing they can do is hope that they'll be able to convince people that this is just Republicans being mad and they shouldn't worry about it. And we'll see more of that here in just a second.
And the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
I will. What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share.
In the shakedown
I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
No, you didn't.
She answers the question, and you just heard someone say, no, she didn't. Or no, you didn't. She answered the question by saying she's not going to answer the question. That's not an answer to the question. That's you saying you're not going to answer the question. Now, usually this works with these folks, but I think they smell blood in the water.
Yes or no, was the president involved in the shakedown attempt?
Stephen, I just answered the question. I just said, it's not up to you how I answer the question.
She did answer the question. She said she won't answer the question. That's not an answer to the question. He's right. Yes or no? Was he involved in the shakedown attempt? Seems like something would be a pretty easy no from the White House press podium, but apparently it's not.
Just answer the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Karine, can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Counsel so we have it?
I would.
That, by the way, is an awesome question. It really is. The White House press conference. Okay, well, what did they say? Not everyone in this room knows. Not everyone watching knows. Why don't you tell what it is? Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't know. She thought she could just shut this down by saying that, and she can't.
I would refer you to them, and they will share their statement with all of you.
My question is about your statements from that podium. You've stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House Counsel.
This is not a change?
I just answered the question. You just asked me, does my statement change? I just told you nothing has changed. That's answering.
Okay, well, in that case, that is kind of answering the question. She's saying that, yeah, the White House is going to continue pretending that they know nothing about what Hunter Biden was up to, even though Hunter Biden makes it very clear, I'm threatening you and my father is right here, and he'll know that you didn't deliver, you didn't bring those deliverables, the grifting, the money, all that stuff, and he'll know, and then you will be held accountable by my father. We should probably know if that's true or not. The White House should probably make a definitive statement now that they've been busted lying, saying none of this was true. And now they're going to have to come out and say, okay, some of this is true. Or this is all just made up. You'll see people say this is all just made up. Yeah, and some that even said, well, they made a graphic and then they put the text in there. That's not how WhatsApp app looks. They're showing a real text in graphic form. Stop being so pedantic and silly. You're not going to escape this by going, oh, they put it on a Photoshop. The message is real.
Bring the question. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
The president was there 2 days
Go ahead,
prior.
Stephen. I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go ahead.
Thank you. To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with regard to this text message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House Counsel. They have addressed this, and I refer you to them. Go ahead.
Karine, have you spoken to the president about this? Have you asked him whether he was there with his son on July 30th?
This is not a conversation that I've had with the president. Again, I would refer you to the White House Counsel.
Do you plan to have that conversation with the president?
No.
Did the president speak with the attorney general at all
I
last
can't.
night at the state dinner?
I cannot say if the president had had a conversation with the attorney general last night. What I can refer you to is the White House counsel's office as it relates to the allegations. They've already addressed this. This is something for them to deal with. I refer you to the Department of Justice on anything else if you don't want to speak to the White House counsel's office.
And there was reporting earlier in the week that after the plea agreement was reached by Hunter Biden, that the president felt relieved that that part of it was behind him. Is that true? Can you speak
I can't
to his
speak to that.
mindset?
I cannot speak to the president's mindset. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office.
Now, you have to ask yourself, what's going on here? You have to ask yourself, what's happening with this White House? Why can they not answer questions? Why can they not tell the truth? Why can they not point out that everything that has been said before by the White House, by the White House counsel, by the president himself, by Hunter Biden, all of it shows to be untrue. The idea that he didn't know anything about his son's business is a provable lie. He's the big guy. He's getting 10%. He knows what's going on. They're going to have to deal with it. What they have done, the Biden team, the entirety of the Biden team, have basically said, prove us wrong. And right now, there are whistleblowers proving them wrong. The American media didn't want to dig in it. They had no interest. And I will show you their mentality in the form of a Juan Williams statement on Fox News trying to dismiss this thing. And they're trying. God, are they trying.
What we have this week was a decision by a Trump-appointed prosecutor who had full authority over the case by his own account to bring 2 misdemeanor charges basically against Hunter Biden. That was it.
Oh, boy. All right. So, again, they're trying to say, hey, look, this thing's over. We got 2 charges. Full authority. Well, the argument is that he didn't actually have full authority. That's what they're alleging. That's what the whistleblowers are saying. You can either address what the whistleblowers are saying, but you can't pretend. You can either address it or you can say it's untrue. Those are only other options. You can't just pretend it's not happening. That's what Juan Williams is trying to do here. And he gets worse at this.
Well, all these other things that we're hearing about, an app message, we don't know if the president was involved, and he wasn't even president or vice president at the time. This was from 2017. So last week, Senator Grassley said he had a tape of somebody. This week, you've got an app message. I don't know what's coming next week, but it looks like this is the Republican version of the Steele dossier with a bunch of rumors and innuendo and no hard evidence, no proof, nothing.
The Republican version of the Steele dossier, something that guys like Juan Williams and the American media pushed as fact for like 7 years. And now we're pretending that evidence that is seen by the people is essentially the same thing. Oh, what's this app thing? Wow, Juan Williams doesn't know. Oh, they say there's some audio tape. Oh, we don't know about this? So you're just pretending these things don't exist and these guys are lying. What about the FBI document? What about that, Juan Williams? How come we haven't seen that document that they wanted to redact and not give to Congress? That could end up with the FBI director in contempt. What about that? Why are you pretending that all of this being brought out by people who are named publicly is the same as the Steele dossier that was full of lies that they used to start an investigation, which you believed, Juan Williams?
Yeah, I just want
to... evidence.
Go ahead, Mark.
No hard evidence. So Joe Biden said over and over and over, I never discussed my son's business dealings with him. And now you have a WhatsApp message from Hunter Biden. This is not just the whistleblower saying this. They have the screenshot of the actual message. This wasn't from the laptop. This was from a search warrant that they got, saying, my father is right here. If you don't give us $15 million, he's going to make your life miserable. He says, my father's right here. And it's important to note, the guy he's talking to, Henry Zhao, is not just a Chinese businessman. He has high contacts with the Chinese intelligence. He gave Hunter Biden $15 million out of an account before this message was put out. That he shared with the daughter of the former Minister of State Security, which is the Chinese intelligence service that's responsible for both domestic and international espionage. And he had already given him $5 million, and Hunter was shaking him down for another 15. So this is not just a corruption issue. This is a national security issue. If this is accurate, then Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were shaking down a guy connected to Chinese intelligence.
Mark, obviously this was in 2017. I repeat myself, and Joe Biden.
It's actually kind of funny. It's really funny. Now we've moved from it's not real because it's a Steele dossier, you see. And he lays out, wait a second, this is all stuff that's come out of a search warrant that overturned this information. And now it's being leaked because the FBI and the DOJ didn't want to use it against Hunter Biden. And now he's trying to say, oh, well, Joe Biden wasn't even president. Is that going to be the argument? Joe Biden wasn't president when he was doing these things? Okay.
Biden was not an official in any capacity as vice president or president.
He had nothing
and
to do with it.
That's right. And secondly, who would you believe here? A kid who was, by his own admission, involved with drugs.
By the way, that kid's 45 years old, I believe, at the time. Or maybe even older. At least 45 years old, a kid.
To the point of addiction. Or a man who's the former vice president and current president, and there's no evidence that he was on this app or threatened anybody.
It is unbelievable the lengths people will go to defend Joe Biden, who is a pathological liar and terrible at it at that. But they still want to get out there and they want to defend this guy. They want to try to make this case. It's the Steele dossier. He wasn't on the app. He didn't send the text message. Well, they asked, was he in the room? And the White House, well, you got to talk to the White House press counsel. The White House counsel's office has talked about that. They have no answers because they're busted. That's it. They have no answers because they are busted. If they weren't, they'd appoint a special counsel. If they weren't, they'd actually be interested in getting to the bottom of this. Is Hunter Biden trading on his dad's name without his knowledge? You think you might want to know that? The American people want to know this as well, and it does matter. As was pointed out here, you're shaking down Chinese intelligence. That could potentially come back to bite you in the rear end later. But we're going to pretend that this is no big deal because he wasn't president or it was the Steele dossier. The White House and liberal commentators here are doing a terrible job with this. The American media is starting to wake up just a little bit. We'll see if they go all the way and actually try to get to the bottom of this. I'm not convinced they're going to. But if they do, this White House is in a lot of trouble.